I feel like something that people tend to use interchangeably, but don't mean the same thing, is referring to what it means to be alone and to be lonely. Now, obviously, it is normal to experience both of these at the same time, and being alone can lead to loneliness. But that's not always the case. It is important to note that one can be described through objective fact, while the other can be described through different experiences. But apparently, people may think they are the same. They're not. A lot of people love to be alone, but they are more judged because they think that there's something wrong with them. Like, why would you not want to have someone to share your stories with? Why do you think solitude is good for you? How do you not get bored? And why do people think this? Because we are meshing in a subjective experience known as loneliness with what it means to be alone. And I feel that people who were told this ended up feeling more lonely because they're surrounding themselves around others that don't benefit them in any way. But why are they doing it? Because they think it's better to be around people than to not have anyone around you. It would honestly be better to be alone than be surrounded by people who are only going to bring you down, or not care at all about your presence. First things first, let's begin by actually defining what both of these things mean and why they are different. Being alone is objective, being lonely is subjective. What it means to be alone is simply a situation where you don't have access to anyone around you, and no one is there to interact with you. That's it. Now, being lonely, however, can be created through different environments, not just from being isolated. Being lonely is described by desiring affection and attention with other people, but doesn't have access to that. It usually creates a feeling of emotional disconnection, worthlessness, and outcast. Once again, it is normal to feel lonely when you're alone, but not all the time. There are a lot of circumstances where people have access to others, but those others aren't giving you the affection that you want from them. That is how loneliness can start, and it would be worse if the people you love won't love you back, instead of not getting anything at all. Now, being lonely is obviously considered a bad thing, and being alone could be considered one as well, but for some, it could be a good thing. When you're alone, you get to focus on yourself, do whatever you want, and no one will judge you for it. I mean, would you rather sing really loudly in the comfort of your house, where no one, besides neighbors, will hear you? Or sing really loudly when your parents can barge in at any moment and they'll hear you're singing? This is one of those times where being alone is better. As for the people that are alone quite regularly, they get the chance to do what they want. Typically, being alone is the best right after a long social session. It gives you the time to recharge, and that's how being alone can give you the advantage. Sure, it may be bad for some people, but not for everyone. Basically, being alone is getting the whole bed to yourself, while being lonely is having someone with you in bed, but they're facing away from you. Now, as for my personal experience being alone, I personally love it. I would say I've naturally grown to be a lone person, and I don't want to be ashamed of that anymore. I say anymore because I used to think that wanting to be alone a lot of the time was not good. I especially got that from my parents, who for the longest time have been telling me over and over again that I should go out more often with friends and that being alone for long periods of time is bad. I would prefer getting out of the house during times that I feel like would do me any good, instead forcing myself to go out for the sake of feeling less like a weirdo who loves being at home. It is good to try new things, but I'm not going to take every opportunity that I can find, just to say that my life is more than eat, draw, sleep. I feel like I've always been pressuring myself to take every opportunity that I can, just because it'll give me the chance to come out and be more social. But I say that every single time, and each time has led me thinking that I've just wasted several hours of my life. The best part about being alone is that I am able to make my own plans and decipher which things that I want to do first, and no one could get upset over the fact that I am not using my time in a way that other people want me to. You see, when I'm alone, I can decide for myself on what I want to do, but if I have to make time for other people, it takes away time from me, and then I'd have to readjust my schedule. Things can get quite overwhelming if I'm constantly showing my face to other people, and it's a lot more awkward when I have to forcibly alter the way I act and look in front of other people, because I've naturally adapted to the fact that I know that no one's out there right now to judge me or question me. I'm always so locked on who I am on the inside than on the outside, which I personally think that's more important for me. So that's why I cherish every moment when I get to be alone. I don't need to worry about how other people may think of me. My embarrassment can temporarily disintegrate because I can't feel embarrassed when I'm alone, which is the worst feeling ever. But are there ever any times that I feel lonely? Of course I do. Everyone has felt lonely at some point, but we all have to face that eventually. As for me, the only times I've ever really felt lonely is when I'm bored. I don't typically feel lonely when I'm alone because there's always something that I want to do when I'm alone that I don't get to do if I'm around other people. But the lack of motivation can happen, and I do feel lonely during those times because I feel like if I can talk out my feelings to someone else, it could make me feel better. But in the end, I'd much rather have it this way because having someone around all the time can tire me out quite fast. Remember that there is nothing wrong with being alone. The term alone doesn't have any negative terms around it, but people may disagree with that, most likely due to them attaching negative things to it to make it seem bad. Humans are created to seek connection and support from others. It is important to make healthy connections with others, as in family, friends, and relationships. But if we don't have any of those, that's a bad thing. And that's where people are defining the term alone as a negative. Notice how in schools, teachers are always encouraging students to talk to one another. They want us to interact with each other because no one wants to be alone. Hold on. No one wants to be lonely, but you can't force someone to get into connections with peers by making them. It would honestly be easier to let friends naturally happen. I don't know, I just think that if you're putting too much of an effort to do something, it's not worth it. I've been able to interact with a lot of people in school, but I'd be putting too much of an effort if I'd actually try and stay with them to consider them as a friend. Most importantly, there's one surprisingly common group of people that exist that still get a lot of negative treatment. It's this thing called an introvert. I myself am an introvert, and we're the ones that are always questioned for who we are during social situations. Introverts love being alone, and they'd probably make an effort to do things alone as much as possible. It could be due to things being easier that way, or we're just too shy to ask because we're not normally adapted to being around other people. But that doesn't mean we're lonely. It's not a curse to be an introvert because being alone is when we're our best selves. It also doesn't mean we hate everyone and we don't want to be around others ever. Introverts can actually be very extroverted when they're around people that they actually enjoy. But I wouldn't say it's quite common for introverts to find those people. But it's fine. We'll all stay in our own bubble, and that's not a bad thing. It is important to note that loneliness is something that will occur to everyone, but those that are the happiest alone won't face it as drastic. Lots of people love to be alone, but there's also lots of people who don't. I've seen so many say how much they hate being alone, and to those, I find it rather funny. And before you say anything, you'd probably judge me for disliking social interaction. But being alone is an opportunity. I can't imagine having to constantly present myself to other people in order to feel appreciated. I've never gotten the chance to feel like the true me when it seems like I'm only putting on an act around other people. At least, for a lot of people that I've been around. If you can't handle being alone, loneliness is going to hurt a lot more. It's important to ask for help from others, but it's also important to be independent, and that's what being alone will teach you. You can't rely on other people all the time to create that sense of validation. I don't want to be spoon-fed over and over about human connection to escape loneliness. I would just vomit it all out. Although I may not appear happy a lot of the time, I don't need to show it because all my happy moments happen when I'm alone. So, sure, I may feel lonely sometimes, but I'd rather have no connection than lose a connection, because that would hurt even more. I'd rather keep the real me instead of having it in the hands of another, only for it to get taken away. If enough people can openly embrace solitude, we'll be alone forever, but never lonely. One day I'll come out and I'll be myself. One day.